Hey, it's Daniel and Craig. We are going to talk you through our interactive activity called Defend the Hospital. This activity is a hit with learners. More than 12,000 young people have played it.
Yeah, it's a great way to introduce cybersecurity in your classroom. You'll get to see what it's like to be up against a simulated cyber attack. So this activity introduces cybersecurity, incident response, and using a command line interface. But don't worry, you don't need to have experience in these areas.
This one we found worked really well for S1 to S4 computer science classes. It involves a bit of copying and pasting, but everyone should be able to complete it. If you're thinking of trying this activity out with your class or your group, here's what we'd recommend you do. We'd recommend first you stick with this video and watch the playthrough. Next, we'd recommend you play the activity yourself from start to end. And lastly, take a look at the sample slides that we provided and you can adapt them to suit you.
You don't need any extra software to play the activity. You just need a modern web browser like Firefox or Chrome. So you can head straight to our website, cyberskillslesson.com. Okay, let's go for it then. So Daniel, you're on our website, cyberskillslesson.com.
Yeah, so cyberskillslesson.com is where you'll find all of our interactive resources. Today we are looking for Defend the Hospital. We've found it here in the middle. So I'm going to press the red button that says Start Lesson. So there's a bit of supplementary information here about what's in the lesson and the objectives. And we've also got a nice introduction video that you can play with your class before you get started.
Let's read through the introduction, Daniel.
Yeah, so in this interactive lesson, you are going to step into the shoes of a cybersecurity defense professional to defend against a live cyber attack. Your challenge is to defend Glen Margaret Hospital from a denial of service attack. And you're going to be faced with waves of cyber attacks. And only by working together are you going to be able to stop the attackers. Now, the attack is simulated. We're not actually coming under attack today, but it will give you an idea and an insight into the way that companies have to protect themselves from real cyber attacks. So follow the instructions and let's see if you can defend the computer systems and the hospital and defeat the cyber criminals.
So the main objectives, the things that we're going to work through today, says first you'll need to prepare by making backups of critical files in computer systems. You're going to use a command line tool to do this. Then when the attack begins, you'll find a way to stop malicious computers from connecting to the hospital systems. Then next, you're going to reboot and repair any of the systems that are taken down by the attackers. And finally, if you can stop the attackers, you repair and restore the computer systems to allow the hospital to return back to normal. So these are the steps that we're going to go through today, Daniel.
Great. You ready to start the activity, Craig?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's hit play. So we need to put in our name and our school or group to kind of personalize it, right? So I'm going to put my name here, which is Daniel, and my school.
Your school isn't there. There's a button for that too.
So it's also asking us for our initials. This is if we're doing it as a live lesson, we can have a dashboard, but we need to put your initials in to get started. So we're going to hit begin lesson. And we are a student. So Craig, what's step one here? What are we doing?
So step one says back up the Glen Margaret Hospital records so that we have a working backup in case of an attack. So this command will create a backup copy of the MySQL database the hospital uses. So MySQL is a popular type of database. So this is how all the instructions are going to work when you do this activity. On the left-hand side, you'll have the instructions to follow. And on the right-hand side, we have our command line interface, Daniel. This is where you would type or copy and paste the commands.
Yeah, so this big black box on the right-hand side of your screen is our command line interface or our terminal. You'll sometimes hear the terms used interchangeably. What this is a box where you can type in commands, press enter, and the computer will run those commands. This is something that people who work in cybersecurity have to deal with quite often. It's a really common way of interacting with computer systems, particularly in security or other more niche applications where a bit of software might not exist with a nice graphical interface. So it's a really useful skill to have, and it's a really useful thing to be comfortable with. So we're introducing the learners to using a command line interface.
And yes, certainly copying and pasting the commands is going to mean that you don't make any mistakes, because if you type in one wrong letter, one wrong character, the command probably won't run. It won't do what you expect it to do. So I think, Daniel, for this one today, where possible, let's use copy and paste. So this first command, we're going to do the MySQL dump. So let's copy and paste that command in.
Okay. So I'm going to copy and paste the command so I don't make any typos. So put it in the right hand side and press enter. It's asking us for a password, but we know what the password is. The password is hospital42. Okay, and we press enter to send that command. And what it's doing now is it's dumping that database to a file called records.sql. So it has to take a bit of time to do that, copying all of the files.
There we go. Dump record SQL complete. So step 2, we now have a backup file of the whole hospital database. Let's check how large this file is by using the du command. So du, Daniel, short for disk usage, and it's going to tell us how large the file is. So this is the command that you need to run here.
Okay. So we are going to see how big this records.sql file is. How big is the backup? 25 gigabytes. That's a massive file. So step 3 is getting us to use the tar command to compress that backed up file that we just created so that it takes up less space. We want to do that before we upload it to the server to save some space. So we've got another command that we're going to run, and the command is tar cfz records tar.gz and records.sql. So tar is a program that is commonly used, particularly on Linux, for compressing files. It puts them into what are called tarballs, which is what this file that we're creating is. That's what that type is. So these are real commands that you are typing in, but this is a simulated terminal. So if you're using Linux on something like a Raspberry Pi, or if you've got a Unix computer like a Mac, these commands would work in the same way.
And you would never be expected to know all these commands, Daniel, off the top of your head as well. Like, every one of these commands has a manual, has documentation, and you can look them up and you can see what are the flags you should be using. You should see what order do you put in the instructions so that it does what you want it to do. We're just giving you the commands here because we want you to sort of see what it feels like to use it. But in reality, you would look up what is the du command and how do you use it. So we've compressed the files, Daniel.
Yes. So we need to see how big is this compressed file? How much space have we saved? So we're going to use the du command again, because the du command allows us to see the size of a file. So we're going to type the command in to see how big our compressed backup is. So again, I'm going to copy and paste that. Craig, I actually have a book that is just a list of terminal commands. Each page is a different program. So it might be like the tar program, or it might be the disk usage program. And inside it is lots of examples of commands and what they mean. And it's really, really handy. I use it all the time. So our file is now 10 gigabytes. So we've gone from 25 to 10. So it's still a large file, but it's better than 25 gigabytes were. So when making backups, it's really helpful and useful to compress these backed up files to save some disk space. What we want to do now, though, is upload it to our backup server. So we're going to use the rsync command. We're going to remotely synchronize that file. We're going to send it to the server. So we're going to run the command again. What it does is it moves the records.tar.gz, so that's that compressed backup, and it puts it on the backup server. And the backup server has this IP address here. So again, we're going to copy and paste the command. And when we're ready, we'll press enter.
So while that's moving those files over, Daniel, it's going to take a bit of time, but it's worth knowing that we're doing this manually. But if you were doing this in a real environment, someone would probably have set this up to do it maybe automatically once every day or once every 12 hours or something like that. This is probably not the type of thing that someone would be sitting manually doing every morning.
No, it probably be automated with something like a cron job, which is like a command that runs periodically. So if this wasn't a real system, you'd probably be like a text file with these exact commands inside of it. And then you would run another command to say, run this list of commands at this time period. That's a really common thing that you'll probably come across. So that's finished uploading now, Craig. Good thing that we compressed it and it didn't take too long. However, some bad news.
Oh, no. So it says, our systems show that we're being attacked from computers outside the hospital network. But by blocking their IP address, we can stop them from damaging our systems. So IP addresses are going to appear periodically, and we can block them using this command. So that the command that we're going to be using here, Daniel, is update firewall. Now, firewalls are the tools that are used by security professionals. You might set them up to stop certain people from being able to access your systems.
Yeah, so a firewall is a piece of security software that you'll find on every computer, every phone, anything that's connected to the internet will have a firewall. And a firewall decides what devices are allowed to communicate with my device. And if we add an IP address to a block list, well, it's not going to be able to communicate anymore. It's not going to be able to attack us anymore. So that's why we're adding these IP addresses. Craig, what is an IP address though?
Yeah, so an IP address just represents the location that your server, your computer is on the internet. So every computer will have a different IP address, and that's how you can know which computer you're connecting to at that point. So we would know, as the hospital team, we would know all the different IP addresses of the computers that we can trust. So the ones that are part of our network. And we would want our firewall, you could set it up so that it blocks everything else completely that it doesn't trust. Or in this case, what we're doing, Daniel, is we're updating the rules to sort of say, we think there is something suspicious about the server or computer that's at this IP address. We want to block that from connecting to us.
Yeah, there's two types of firewall. There's allow list firewalls and there's block list firewalls. Allow list block everything apart from a small number that you've specified, and block list allow everything apart from the ones that you have specified. There's advantages and disadvantages to both of them, but the hospital is using a block list one. So we're going to have to manually tell the system, these are the IP addresses we want to block. These are the ones which are causing us problems, trying to attack us. So this is the command that we're going to use. It's called update firewall. And then here we've put some things in capital letters. We're not going to run the command as it is. We have to put in the IP address in place of this. So our command is update firewall, and then the IP address that we want to block. And that's what I've just done here.
Get it blocked then, Daniel.
Get it blocked. There we go.
The firewall rules have been updated, so you've been able to block that one. But Daniel, there's another one that's come up now. You're going to have to block this one as well.
Oh no. So I'm going to do update firewall again. And then I could either type it in or I could copy and paste it. So I'm just going to copy and paste it.
Well done, Daniel. That's that one.
And oh no, we've got another one. Now, a tip here that I find really helpful is in the terminal, you can actually use your up and down arrows to see the previous commands that you have run. So rather than copy and paste update firewall every time, I can just use the up arrow and then change the IP address. So again, I could either copy and paste it, or do you know what, this time I'm going to type it in. 7.178. Okay, we have mitigated some of these incoming attacks. However, some of the programs that run on the hospital servers have crashed as a result of the cyber attack. We need to restart these services so that the hospital can continue to run. So we've got another command that we're going to have to run to restart the services.
So it says here, service restart. And then what you have to do is type in the name of the service that you're hoping to restart. So essentially what we're doing here, Daniel, is turning on and off a bunch of computer systems to reboot them essentially as well. So yeah, sometimes this might be a reasonable way that you would prevent a cyber attack or stop something from happening. Like if you disconnect something from the network, then it's going to be difficult for someone to connect it. Most of the time, it's going to be impossible for someone to connect it if you've unplugged it. But what we're doing is restarting the service. So the first one you were doing there, Daniel, was cardiology. So that's been restarted.
That's been restarted. We've got another one to restart now, and it's the safety network. There we go.
Well done. Daniel, it's about to get a lot more serious here. We're on step 9. We're receiving more attacks from IPs which need to be blocked. But Daniel, some of the services are still crashing too. So you're going to have to do both these at the same time. I could read some to you.
You could read these. That'd be great.
Okay, do another 12, 85, 69, 53.
Okay.
Go for restart the service for vending and radiotherapy.
Vending. Okay, vending's been restarted.
Okay, radiotherapy.
Radiotherapy. Okay.
Do the kitchen. Restart the kitchen.
Important.
Okay, Daniel, I think you should do some of these firewall updates now. So 143.86, 93.128.
Okay, updated.
They keep coming. 128.23.2.199.
Okay.
Okay, let's go for 69.98.219.230. Daniel, they keep coming.
Keep going in. Should I do another IP address?
Do another,
go back to some services.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Let's go for 115.167.85.81.
Okay.
Go for another
some
service.
service.
Yep. Service restart CCTV.
Right, back.
Okay, let's restart the web server, so HTTP. Oh.
I did it.
We did it, Daniel. Well done. We fended off the cyber attack. So we successfully defended the hospital from this attack, but now we're ready to restore that backup that we took of the system earlier.
So we have another command, and what this command is going to do is it's going to restore the backup. It's going to put our records thing back in our SQL database. So let's run that command. It'll take a bit of time. It was quite a big backup, I remember. The reason we're doing this is we know that before the cyber attack, everything was working really well. And then the cyber attack happened. We don't really know what happened. We know that some things broke. So as a precaution, let's just roll back to how it was before the cyber attack happened. That's probably the best way to recover here, rather than slowly picking through and trying to fix things as they come up. Let's go back to the last known good version. And I can see here, restore records.sql has completed. Craig, we've just successfully defended the hospital from cyber attacks by blocking IPs, keeping the services running, and by using backups.
Excellent. So this is a really fun activity to try with your class. It could be something that you do in pairs, a bit like we were doing there, Daniel, because we were keeping each other right. We were reading the instructions. I was double checking what you were typing in to make sure that all worked together. And this is a real fun activity as well. If you enjoyed this as well, you can check out our website. We've got dozens of activities like this so that you can learn more about cybersecurity and data science and other topics to do with tech. So you just go to cyberskillslesson.com, have a play through some of those different activities and see which ones you want to use with your class.
Good luck.